So, chakra number 2 is the heart chakra in Maui, Hawaii. Maui is the most beautiful place that I've ever been to. The way that God or nature created that little island is extremely next level. I spent 2.5 weeks in Maui, but my friend A flew back to Philly from LA. So it's only me, N, and J. And the relationship between N and J and I was slowly disintegrating. We talked about it, but we didn't get to the core depths of the issue. My take was, look, I'm here to guide N to heal the earth. Everything else, it's not too important. I booked all the stays, I did all the research, and N and J were both 5 or 6 years younger than me, and they hadn't traveled much. Well, I spent time traveling abroad for like half of the past 5 years. I was there to be a guide to N. So we arrived at the airport in Maui with a little bit of tension, but I was unconcerned because we were in Maui. We went grocery shopping, took a lift to the beach park, when we had to set up our tent at night with flashlights, but we figured it out. We slept comfortably the first night. Because we were only allowed to get a permit to camp at the beach for 3 nights at a time, the plan was to camp for 3 nights, then rent a car and sleep in there for 2 nights, and then do it again, because Maui's expensive. The next morning, I woke up in the morning, decided to take a naked dip in the ocean. It was a magical feeling until I realized I couldn't find my phone. I looked for it for a while. I concluded it fell out of my pocket while I took out my clothes, and it got swept away in the Pacific Ocean, which is salty. So I decided to go to town, try to grab a new phone. The issue was the beach we were at was 3 hours from one town and 4 hours from another town, walking. I was told it was easy to hitchhike in Maui, but I had no such luck. Walked for 3 hours with the road on one side and the ocean on the other side. I got into a bus to go to Walmart where I wanted to buy a burner phone. On the bus ride there, I saw a Verizon store, which is my service provider. So I decided to get a better phone for pretty cheap. So before I went, N and J wanted me to get water. Got lunch, did some shopping. When I headed back and I got on the bus driver said he doesn't stop at the side of the road, only at the bus stops. So I either had to catch a $25 lift or just walk. So I decided to walk with another 3 hours with big water jugs. And I got back and N and J were mad at me. I explained the situation. They were still upset, but I let it slide and ate some potatoes that they cooked over the fire. We went to bed under a blanket of stars. The next day began with another problem, and had took her dog to Cali with us, but super hard to get dogs into Maui. So we arranged with my friend in LA to take care of N's dog while we were in Maui, but the dog started acting up once N left. The dog tore up my friend's apartment, ate a bunch of weed chocolates, pooped on my friend's rug, and N was stressed out. So she kept going back and forth whether she should stay or go back for her dog. And the morning of our third day there, I woke up with an ultimatum. Ann was deciding to go back to LA to get her dog, and Jay was going to go with her. She was going to buy a ticket and leave in 5 days. Jay already bought me a return ticket for 2 weeks from then. So if I went back to LA, I'd be at my friend's house with nothing to do. Or I could take on Maui by myself. Issue was we were camping out on the beach and cooking all of our food using fire, but I had no experience with camping, while N and J had some experience with it. So I'm deliberating whether to stay or go, and a dog pops into my tent, smells around, and then leaves. A second later, his owner apologizes, and we get to talking. He told me our tent was outside the campsite zone, and we might get shit from the rangers. I told him about my predicament. His response was, "Is it your dog?" I was like, "Nah." He was like, "Well, stay in Maui and enjoy it." And he said, "If you need something, let me know. And if you want to contribute some food or cash, I can cook for us." He had been living at the beaches on Maui for a couple years now. So I probably would have chosen to stay regardless. But this guy was a divine sign that I definitely needed to stay. So after I told N and J I wanted to stay, the separation grew even stronger. And that day, they took a trip to Lahaina, and I stayed at the beach. Met up with Gino, the dude I just met, his friend Tony, swam in the beach, cooked some potatoes, hung out. Great day. The next day was the day to get the rental car, which I did by myself. When I got back, N and J were tripping on acid. Turns out, the way back from town, they hitchhiked with a guy who gave them some acid. I tried to hang out with them, but they were just on their own wave, and we was on this beautiful beach. So we just did our separate things. I actually ended up hanging out with my new friends, Gino and Tony. Next day, we go to the Heart Chakra. Yo, they built a golf course at the Heart Chakra. So I pull up to this Ritz-Carlton golf resort. I drive until I can't drive no more. We end up at this little small parking lot in the back for staff. Hopped out, followed a little path, which led us to an abandoned golf fairway. Made our way through some thick bushes and to this long, straight opening surrounded by trees. And we enjoyed the nature. We meditated and talked a bit about the energy she was feeling. She said that there was a strong, loving energy where we were, and I had to agree we were wandering into a special place, and wanted to bury some specific crystals in the earth, which we did, said a little prayer, and later that day, we had a talk. We talked about the clear division of energy that was happening between us, and we said how we felt. After, everybody was in a much better place. I definitely got some things off my chest, but I was still feeling a little salty because Jay said that the dude that gave him acid invited them to a New Year's Eve party, and it was New Year's Eve, so I was excited to go to that. But Jay messed up the address when he wrote it down. He didn't exchange numbers with the guy. So we ended up falling asleep at 9 a.m. in our SUV on New Year's Eve, 9 p.m. The next day, we went to a nude beach, and that was an experience. It was kind of a gay men nude beach, but there was definitely some ladies out there, and I felt surprisingly comfortable, butt-ass naked, and it was like real-life paradise. So I did some reading, and I ran into the water butt-ass naked, and that felt good, I'm not gonna lie. Then we went on an adventure up the hill to find a waterfall. Couldn't find it because it was private property, but man, Maui is beautiful. And I had a good talk with Ann. She told me about some experience she had while meditating in the ocean. She felt as if she couldn't do what Spirit was calling her to do, at least not at the moment, and she was starting to feel like making it to the all 7 chakras was not going to happen. The next day, Ann and Jay had to leave. Part of me was sad, but part of me was relieved. I was in Maui with a tent on the beach, a camping permit. I had Gino and Tony looking out for me. I was chilling. So I gotta tell you a little bit about Gino. He hooked me up, and he's an interesting fellow, right? He's a professional hobo, straight up. He used to be an electrician in Connecticut, but he got injured on the job and got a pension. So he decided, fuck it, I'm moving to Hawaii. He used to pick coconuts for money on a different island until he realized he can just jump from campsite to campsite. So he lives in his tent, he cooks on his baby grill, he walks around and talks to foreigners and helps them with anything that they need, right? I saw him help like 4 different tourists get their cars out of sand that were stuck in the wheel. And in return, people who were camped out would give him gifts when they were leaving. I camped for him for like 6 days, and I saw him get 2 bottles of wine and a whole chicken, which cooked that joint up, and it was delicious. He was making it work. He was definitely a bit off his rocker, but he was a good cook, hospitable, good dude. And people would pull up on him, drink, smoke, cook, kick it, cool. The next couple of days, I didn't have the rental car, so it was a lot of me chilling on the beach, partaking in various activities with various characters. One day I went to town to do laundry, and I watched the Eagles losing the playoff game. I got back to town, and my tent was in the tree. And thank God I repitched that joint near this tree, or there might not have been a tent for me to go back to. But that night was super windy, and it started raining hard, and the combo caught me off guard. I was by myself. Not only did my entire tent get super sandy, but because of the moisture, it was all wet. And literally the top of the tent was at my face because the wind was blowing so hard. So I was like panicking a little bit. My tent did not feel built for this. I was trying to sleep in a wet, sandy sleeping bag. It was tough. Pulled up my phone, got water drops on that joint, and I looked for hostels. The cheapest one was $55 a night. I'm used to hostels like $10 a night in Asia, but I had to regroup, So I booked this hostel for a night, and in the morning, wake up, packed all my stuff. My guy Tony was going to town. He offered to give me a ride for a price, and he's a licensed plumber in Hawaii, lives in his pickup truck with his dog, where he keeps his tools, his belongings, and quite often he sleeps parked up near Gino's tent. On the way to the hostel, he says I should rent a U-Haul truck, and that suggestion changed the game. I didn't end up getting a U-Haul, but instead I started looking at prices for SUVs. I found one for $23 a night with the foldable back seat, so I had room to sleep. And Maui with a vehicle where you can sleep in, whole different ball game. I had already camped out on the most beautiful beach I've ever experienced for a solid like a week and some change, but now I was mobile, and I had a week to do whatever I wanted. First stop was back to the heart chakra. I went back to the same little parking lot. I snuck to the secret golf course, but this time I realized there was a path we didn't see last time. I started walking on this path, and I'm just wandering through this majestic abandoned golf course. It's taken over by nature at the Earth's heart chakra, and I'm in like disbelief. It was so beautiful, but I also felt like I wasn't supposed to be there. So I was treading carefully, right? After a nice walk, get to a pond, and I'm sitting at this pond, meditate for a bit, looking around at the bugs and the flowers, and I see a turtle pop his head out, start basking in the sun. So I started basking with him. It was glorious, and then from way out yonder, I see ducks swimming my way. 9 ducks pull up on me, right to the edge of the water where I'm sitting, and then proceed to swim around with the squad, quacking and splashing, messing around. Like, I was just watching in awe, and then I hear a bird sound, and I look up on a branch hanging over the water. I see this beautiful yellow bird, and the bird starts chirping again, and then the ducks are quacking, so I started talking with him. I was busting up with his ducks and his birds, imagining what their personalities were like while watching them. 15 minutes, 20 minutes pass, and they swim away, and in my head, I'm like, it's either God trying to tell me something, or they probably just associate humans with food, and they were trying to get their grub on. So they're swimming away. I take my phone out. I started writing. The title of the note was, I wonder how animals attribute beauty. The contents of the note was this: unity. Be yourself no matter what. Shape or color or style is not important. Only harmony, love, community. Open your heart to reach your potential. Then you can truly help others. God is watching over you, just like the bird over the ducks. You got this. You're good. You're safe. Be like the ducks. Be like the bird. Be like the turtle. The wind, the ripples, the water, that's God. And that's a good reminder. There's a natural flowing energy. So now I'm feeling the energy of the heart chakra, the earth. I get the urge to enter the pond. A few days ago, I had my first experience with a new beach. I'm feeling lovely, inspired by these ducks, the nature. Take my clothes off and I slowly walk in the water. Every step I take, water gets a little higher, and that cold, refreshing tingle in my body makes me feel alive all over again, right? Then I felt the tiniest nipping feeling on my legs, and I instinctively move. Happens a couple more times. I look down in the water, and there's like 30 to 50 little fishes surrounding me. I try to grab one, and they all effortlessly dodge me in unison. Next, I decided to stay completely still and watch them. They slowly start to surround me and start sucking on my legs. This time, since I was conscious of them, it was more of a tickle, but off instinct, had to move out the way. Finally, I decided I'm going to try to meditate. If I die from baby fish bites, hey, at least it's in one of the most beautiful places in the world, and the heart chakra of the earth. Close my eyes, start focusing on my breath, and the fishes go to town on me till I just couldn't take it no more. Hopped out, dried off in the sun, walked back to the car, grabbed some dinner, went back to the beach campsite where I originally slept, and I slept in the SUV. Next day was the road to Hana. The road to Hana is a magnificent yet treacherous road where at points there's a massive drop off into the ocean on the left side and the beginning of slopes of a volcano jungle on the right side. And There's not much I need to say about Hana. It's just a stunning experience. So I arrived at Hana. I found an Ethiopian truck, little mini food market, and it was bomb. The dude's mom was Ethiopian, and it was legitimately delicious. So talk with him. Upon hearing that I was planning on hiking up the waterfall, he suggested that I hike barefoot. And after my meal, grabbed some fruits and nuts for the next day. Found a little secret beach. Found a place to sleep for my SUV. That night, talked to my mom. Next morning, grab another plate of Ethiopian food, and I go to the base of this hike. Now, hiking up a jungle mountain in the mud, in your bare feet, priceless experience. Every so often, there'd be a big waterfall. I'll just stop and stare in awe. The trees, the plants were all just marvelous. And so it starts raining as soon as I can see the main waterfall, right? And there was just something real nice about that. I decided to instead continue on the path, but go a different way. Had me rocking on rocks up the shallow part of the river. So I saw a family, and I started following them. I crossed a section of the river, and I was at the point where I could feel like this immense force of this waterfall. Super strong, windy, and like drizzle type vibe. So I walk around the little bend, and I'm standing face to face with an 80-foot waterfall. I had a big ass smile on my face, felt like a kid on Christmas, and I walked past this waterfall to this like perch, and I sat there for a good half hour, just taking it all in, examining the waterfall, all the streams. I ate 4 apples and a whole bag of nuts up there. I was getting smacked by these water molecules and the force of this beautiful waterfall. So all of a sudden, the wind started picking up heavy. Got the signal like, hey, like, should probably get out of here. The wind's getting super strong. So I crossed the waterfall again, and like I feel a lot of fear because it's like tornado type of like energy. It was really strong, right? So I get back to the one other river crossing, and my heart drops. The first time I crossed the river, there were these big rocks for me to step on, walk along. But now all those rocks had disappeared under the water, and so it's just this river, and the river current is super strong. I gotta cross this river, right? I was on all fours, and I'm getting hit by the water and all the wind. At one point I slipped, and I really thought it was over for me. But I got across, and I felt so relieved. So I get to this other side, walk a little bit, right? I see this sign. It says, do not pass this point. The wind can pick up at any moment and be super dangerous. People have died passing this point. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Thank you, God. See, I didn't see that sign on the way there. I took the alternative route. So next to the sign, there's this guy who was a personal pilot for one of the members of either the Rolling Stones or Aerosmith. I forget. But I walked back with him, learned what it was like to be a personal pilot for a super rich dude. Takes trips wherever he wants, whenever he wants. Interesting. Got back to the car, dried off, cleaned off, ate more food, spent some more time with nature. And the next day, I drove in the southeast part of Maui, and it's pretty much like driving to heaven. I stopped at some Land Before Time type looking place, and I tried to get some goats on camera, but I ended up just chasing goats for like half a mile. Ate lunch in a tree, and then I headed to the other side of the volcano. So one crazy fact about the Haleakala volcano, one side of the volcano gets 400 inches of rain a year, and the other side of the volcano gets like 12 inches of rainfall a year. The side of the 400 inches was the side I nearly just died on. The other side was the side that I was headed to, right? Logically, I decided to head up the other side of the volcano, right? Stopped at this little, got some lunch at this little backwoods Hawaiian town, and it's trippy, right? See, Maui has one of the most unique energies of any place I've ever been. There's 6 different climates on an island that you can get from side to side in like 3 hours. But it's like country folk from all over US. And there's like mini America vibe to it, right? But it's just surrounded by this unbelievable nature. It's a little country town. They got the city of Kailua where you like feel the struggle of the Hawaiian people. Especially when you take the bus or like go to the mall or whatever where the real people are. Then you got the little boardwalk town Lahaina where the rich people on their beach. Obama has like $1 million mansion there, and that's really close to the Ritz-Carlton Golf Resort where they built the Heart Chakra. We're on the Heart Chakra. which I could do a whole video on the cultural perspective of Maui. It's deep, it's trippy, but so I drive up to this volcano. Once I get high enough, there's barely a shrub, and I'm just zigzagging up this mountain road in the clouds, right? Unfortunately, it was super cloudy. I didn't see a damn thing. Supposedly the view is mind-blowing, but it felt pretty special to be immersed in a cloud. When I came to a parking lot high up, pulled in, went on a little hike, and it was just super windy and rainy. It was like I was on the moon, right? Packed up in my SUV, and I reflected. And that's pretty much my Maui experience. The next day was Sunday, so I looked up some churches, and I went to a Korean Buddhist sermon, and then went to a trippy interfaith church that felt like some Hollywood type shit. Like, all I gotta say about is it felt like the people in that church had done a lot of acid in their lives, right? But yeah, yo, renting this SUV was the most clutch win. And I drove around Maui more. I went back to the heart chakra, meditated, and it was a truly special experience. And just like that, I was back to LA, kicking it with my homie. The next stop was a flight from LA to Peru, where I'd go to the sacral chakra, which is at Lake Titicaca. And I'm going to talk about that in the next video. Appreciate anybody who's still watching this. Peace and love. This is for the Sacred Inclusion Network, so holla at me if you'd like to be a part of that, or just holla at me. Peace.